Normally I like to do the overreaction versus reality thing every Monday during the football season. There's like two variations of it today. Like I can spin off with another part of it, but I'll stick to overreactions versus reality. And then out of that is, I guess, there's something only the playoffs could have done, and that is help or hurt the legacy. So think of it in those terms. Okay, so let's start with overreaction. And most of these, I have to own them because most of these are my own overreactions leading up to this weekend. For the most part, most of us were wrong, right? Most of us were wrong certainly about the Kansas City Chiefs. Most of us were wrong, really wrong, about the Baltimore Ravens and the organization itself. It was shocking. The most shocking thing out of the weekend is not that Kansas City was as good as they were. It's not that the Kansas City defense was as good as it was. The most shocking part of the weekend is the Baltimore Ravens were an unhinged train wreck. They were completely undisciplined. They were clueless. That's what's most surprising about the weekend. So let's do this. Overreaction. The Baltimore Ravens defense, which was not just the best defense in the league this year, I think I even said last Thursday or Friday, it's one of the best defenses of the last 3 or 4 years. But the Baltimore Ravens defense would be too much for Kansas City. Reality. The Chiefs' defense was better. Much better. Ridiculously good. Again, all of the conversation, and it's some of it's fair, okay? All the conversation is going to be about Patrick Mahomes, and everything's going to be about the Patrick Mahomes legacy. It's going to be about them being a dynasty. It's going to be about him and Brady and all that stuff, and that's fine because he was great. The guy completed 11 of his first 12 passes, and the one incompletion was a drop. So the story of the game, though, I know it's crazy. The story of the game is the Kansas City defense, which had been good all year, but reality is we didn't know how good they were going to be. So they scored 17 in the first half. They were shut out the entire second half. Now, how many teams and how many times can a team go on the road and score 0 points in the second half and win? It doesn't happen during the regular season. It never happens in the postseason. The story of the game, the reality of the Kansas City Chiefs, for all the stuff about Mahomes, right? The story of the game is their defense giving up 10 points on the road. Here's what they've done. And I don't know. Maybe it's because they didn't have any super big names on defense. I don't know why. We knew they were good on defense. I don't know why we didn't know more. I don't know. But they owned the Baltimore Ravens, which is unheard of. All right, so Kansas City goes on the road. They shut down the best rushing offense in the NFL. That's what they did. They gave up 10 points in 3 playoff games. They've given up 7, 24 against Buffalo, and now 10 the last 2 games on the road. Baltimore has the best rushing offense in the NFL. They have 81 yards. And most of that stuff, most of the 81, is because of Lamar Jackson scrambles. So then you get to, well, how does that all work together? That's because Patrick Mahomes was a game manager. And everybody uses the term game manager. We all say it too much. It's just kind of a goofy term. But the term game manager is tossed around all the time. It's almost become a criticism. But if you look at the greatness of Mahomes, knowing that he has a good defense, that's exactly what Patrick Mahomes has done. His team goes out and holds Baltimore to 10 points. He doesn't make a mistake. He has 0, count them up, 0 interceptions. He's sacked twice in 3 playoff games. That's it. He was sacked 0 times against Baltimore. Lamar Jackson, the league's MVP, has 67 yards passing in the first half. Kansas City sacked Lamar Jackson. That's not like they're chasing around some stiff. Kansas City sacked Lamar Jackson 4 times. The reality, their defense was better. Their defense won them the game, and their quarterback managed the game, and it's not a criticism. Overreaction. Oh, boy. Travis Kelce has gotten soft. He's lost his focus because of Yoko Swifto. Travis Kelce Swift was getting sluggish and didn't care and was packing it in. Going to be a Hall of Famer, but he was packing it in. Reality. Baltimore had no answer. Like, he looked like he was 25. They had no answer. He looked as good in that game, certainly in the first half, as he's ever looked. He catches 6 balls. And remember, this is against Baltimore. I said on Friday the best player on the field would be a guy by the name of Kyle Hamilton. Nobody knows who that is. A safety for Baltimore. I thought he'd be the best player. He'd been the best player on the field for the playoffs. I thought he'd be the best player on the field against Kansas City, and Travis Kelce schooled him. He catches 6 in the first half and a touchdown. He catches 11 in the game. And then the most ridiculous thing that I never thought I'd be saying, he passes Jerry Rice for most postseason receptions. He now has, I think the number's 156, and he's got a game left, and he's not going to get shut out. So he has 156. Jerry Rice has, I believe it's 151. And there's no way he gets shut out in the Super Bowl. Jerry Rice is the best to ever play his position. And it's not like he didn't play in a bunch of playoff games. It's a ridiculous stat. The argument for Travis Kelce goes from, forget the Travis Swiftie. The argument goes from, is he one of the best tight ends ever, to the issue of whether or not he's the best tight end ever. Reality is he was light years better than the Baltimore defense. Overreaction. Uh-oh. Look out. Detroit head coach Dan Campbell. I was sick of the term during the regular season. I was sick of the term when it happened, and now I hope it goes away for good. Dan Campbell, the head coach of Detroit, is, quote, aggressive in his play calling, and that's why Detroit got to the NFC Championship game. Reality. No. Aggressive has become, in my word, the code word for stupid. He didn't win because he's aggressive. Part of the reason why Detroit lost, not all the reason, I'm not going to go there yet, but part of the reason why Detroit lost is because aggressive equals dumb. Aggressive is dumb. Aggressive means going forward on 4th and 2 when you have a 92% chance of getting points that would put you up by 3 scores. See, that's dumb. That's dumb to go forward on 4th and 2. I've heard this all year, and I know he's a lovable character and it's a fun story and all that stuff. And I know fans love to see 4th and go for it, or 4th and, don't kick field goals, don't do that stuff. But all year, it's decisions like that. And he's not the only one. It's become an issue in pro football. But you could easily get 3 points. You could easily get 3 scores. And if you bypass that, that's not aggressive, that's dumb. It's just dumb. He and his play caller, which I think is even worse than, just to show you how they have this mentality, and the mentality is dumb. It's not aggressive, it's dumb. He and his play caller decide, I don't know what point in the game, late in the game. So they've got time is running out. I think they have 5 minutes left. 3 to 5 minutes left in the game. And they're at the San Francisco 47, I think it was. And they decide to run the ball, which they don't score, which then in turn, of course, makes them burn a timeout. Now, they ended up not winning, but not getting the onside kick. So we're not talking about it as much, but it was just a dumb move. It's a dumb move. And I think the dumb move comes from everybody thinking it's so cool to sort of do this stuff and then call it aggressive. He is a likable guy. He's done a lot. They're a good team. They're a really good team. But the crazy stuff needs to stop. It's conservative is far better. It is. The crazy stuff that goes on in games, especially when you have a good team, it just needs to stop. So, look, I thought the guy handled himself really well in the post-game news conference. I thought I thought he's always sincere. It's the reason why people like him. And I thought what he said about you never know if you're going to get back was cool. It's true. But I'm hopeful that he owns how stupid these decisions were, and I hope more people understand how dumb they were.
Yeah, I just felt really good about us converting and getting our momentum and not letting them play long ball. They were bleeding the clock out. That's what they do. And I wanted to get the upper hand back, and it's easy hindsight. I get it, I get it, I get that. But I don't regret those decisions, and that's hard. It's hard because we didn't come through. It wasn't able to work out. But I don't, and I understand the scrutiny I'll get. That's part of the gig, man. But we just didn't work out.
Okay, look, no. See, we're doing reality versus overreaction, and you should regret those decisions. You lost. Now, it's not all because of that. It's not. Here's what I hope happens. I really do. And I was hoping he would own it more. Not because I want to see the guys stand up there and suffer. And, he's been out of shape. His team blew a giant lead. They melted down. And, like he said, I think that guy knows. You have no idea what injuries are going to do the next year. You have no idea if he can make it back. But what I hope happens out of this game is that we start to learn the difference between being aggressive and being dumb. And dumb costs you. It's not cool. It's just, it doesn't work. Going for it when you're ahead and could go up 3 scores on 4th and 2 when you can get points is dumb. He should regret it. Anyone who does stuff like that should regret it. So, Andy Reid, I'll tell you the difference between aggressive and dumb. Here's what I think is aggressive. And it's minimized, right? It's minimized by who's involved. So Andy Reid lets his quarterback, the best player in the game. Some would say the best quarterback of all time, but not yet. So Andy Reid decides to be aggressive. This is aggressive. It's not dumb. So Patrick Mahomes has 0 interceptions in the game. You trust him with the ball in his hand. You trust him to make decisions. You know exactly what you're doing and why. He has 0 interceptions in the playoffs. And so he lets the best quarterback in the game dial up a play-action pass. This is aggressive. This is dumb. This is aggressive. He dials up that play-action pass, and everybody in the stadium, this is at 3rd and 9. The Chiefs are trying to run out the clock. The Ravens think they're going to get the ball back or trying to get the ball back. Right? It's 3rd and 9, and everyone expects them to run the ball. And so he decides to run a play-action pass. He goes over the top of the defense on 3rd and 9 and gets like 24 yards. Now, you would say, well, that's pretty risky. Well, not with a guy with 0 interceptions. They're also thinking they get a pass interference call and it's game over. Worst thing that happens is it's incomplete and they punt it away. Worst thing that happens is, even worse, the ball's picked off and it's a punt. That's aggressive. The risk of a downfield completion or incompletion than a punt is worth the risk. That's not a stupid thing to do. That's not dumb. That's aggressive. Dumb loses. I almost hope that everybody spends more time talking about and dissecting these 4th down calls and these going for it and the stuff that Dan Campbell does and any coach, because I'm hoping that it starts to sink in the game itself. And it's boring for fans, but I hope it sinks in. You got to stop doing that stuff. Just play the percentages. Just play the field position and move on. Now, out of overreaction versus reality is what I think is, and it can only happen because this weekend. It was weird. It's because there's so many big stars in the game, because there's so many, crazy stuff that happens on and off the field. There's even Taylor Swift. There's a Tony Romo mix. There's a Greg Olsen mix. There's a Tom Brady mix. All the stuff that happens around these 2 games, these championship games, it makes me create, was the legacy helped or was the legacy hurt? That's what I spin out of this. So think in those terms. It could be reputation. It could be narrative, whatever you want to call it. I don't care. But was the legacy helped or was the legacy hurt?